Traveller's Tales is a rather unusual video game studio based in the United Kingdom, which has had a very interesting history with a lot of different publishers and video game franchises. They're currently owned by Warner Bros. Studios, and they've been producing LEGO video games for several years now, picking up on established media franchises such as Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, DC and Marvel, and producing a very samey formula. The games have been evolving over time, but the original LEGO Star Wars games are still considered the classics because the new games, the innovations are small and distinct. And this formula, though, is extremely popular, it's extremely accessible. Anyone can play these video games. It's easy to pick up and play, and it's fun and accessible. And there's a lot to be said for that. This transformation of the LEGO assets into the digital space was something that LEGO had been trying to do for a long time, and the unique programming talent at Traveller's Tales, which created this system, was actually instrumental in the creation of the LEGO Movie, which the developers at Traveller's Tales actually inspired and were involved in the transition of. But in the mid-2010s, they came up with the idea of the Toys to Life franchise being the ultimate way of unlocking the potential of the LEGO video game franchise. They realised that they could actually sell LEGO physical minifigures, because this is what the Post company was producing as part of their standard business model. And they could use that to offset the costs of small individual franchises all being packed into the same game. It's extremely expensive to hire and license the rights to different intellectual properties, which means that whilst we all love the idea of crossovers between one franchise and another franchise coexisting in the same space, unless you are a mega corporation such as Disney, who owns several distinct franchises and intellectual properties, it gets extremely expensive. But if LEGO could sell and separately license Doctor Who, Ghostbusters, Lord of the Rings, Batman, The Simpsons, Portal, and a range of other franchises tied to minifigures, they could unlock content in one standard video game that would be accessible and customizable by anyone who wants to play it. LEGO Dimensions is worthy of its own video and its own discussion, but in November 2016, one of the oddest sets of these minifigures was released. This is the 71244 level pack, featuring a minifigure character of Sonic the Hedgehog. And when you attached it to a video game console with the LEGO Dimensions game installed and the portal to load Sonic into the game, it gave access to this rather strange playable demo game called Sonic Dimensions. First impression, Sonic does not particularly fit well into the LEGO formula. He moves far too quickly, it's a very loose game anyway, and when you combine that with Sonic's raw speed, it means that really you're barreling around these stages with almost no control. It is, despite its looseness, quite fun though in short bursts. There are two main things that the Sonic Dimensions pack gives you access to. One is a very short, completable in under an hour game mode, where you actually play through some levels taken from the old classic Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. There's some really nice callbacks. They've got the voice cast from the games coming in and giving this mini adventure which ties in with the overall LEGO Dimensions plot in a very loose and unconnected way. It just shows Sonic and Tails and Knuckles and Dr. Eggman and Shadow in a brief appearance, and Amy Rose and all of the others doing their own interdimensional little mini adventure that ties into all of the weirdness and dimension hopping that's been going on in the main game. There are some really nice cutbacks here, playing through the marble zone, running through the special zone as a loading area between the different areas. Some of them are more fun than others. The Metropolis zone, recreating one of the more annoying areas from Sonic 2, is suitably annoying. Labyrinth zone from the original game has that underwater problem where you're restricted in movement. It all ends in a final giant boss against Chaos, the main antagonist of Sonic Adventure. It's a fun game with loose controls that doesn't outstay its welcome. The points where you're playing as Sonic are definitely the highlight, where they try and incorporate the LEGO structure, i.e. building a vehicle or a minifigure. It does tend to break down slightly and doesn't quite hold together as well as it should, but I had a lot of fun. And once you've completed that level that you can play through, you get access to a hub world, which features areas from the floating island. Again, from the classic Sonic video games, you can actually go and visit the location of the Master Emerald, run through the roller coasters of the Carnival Night zones, or go underneath the tombs in the Sandopolis zone. These are a really nice callback to Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. You can also play as Sonic in any other level of LEGO Dimensions. He's accessible outside of his set areas, and his extreme speed does rather break those level designs. He's not designed to fit in to very confined and limited space. To make the use of his speed, you really need the ability to run in all directions. But for something that was quite cheap, not a full price game, just a minifigure, and you get to keep the collectible and put it on your shelf afterwards. This was a real nice touch from Traveller's Tales, who, as I said before, have a rather interesting history with multiple video game franchises, including Sonic the Hedgehog. When Sonic the Hedgehog was finishing his days on the Mega Drive and moving from the 16 to the 32-bit generations, Traveller's Tales was the studio that Sonic Team and Sega turned to say, we need Sonic on the next generation of consoles. They produced 2 games. Sonic 3D, an isometric, it wasn't a true polygonal 3D game as we understand today, but an isometric top-down sprite-driven adventure, and Sonic R, the first true, fully interactive, three-dimensional game where you can control multiple characters moving around. It was extremely limited by the technology, but a very impressive game for the Sega Saturn. And it's nice to see Traveller's Tales, who clearly still have a lot of love and affection for this old franchise, come back and get a chance to actually show off what they've learnt in the meantime. They've become so locked into this Lego set and way of doing things that it doesn't feel like they're ever going to change or have a chance to stretch their wings and do anything else. But I would love to see them do more Sonic content in the future. Unfortunately, I doubt very much that Warner Brothers Media would be keen for them to do so.